Hi there, I'm Rex King. Welcome back to another episode of From the Archive. Today we're talking about The African Queen. The African Queen was directed by John Huston and is based off a novel written by C.S. Forester. The film was one of the first productions to be done in Africa, directed by an American director. The film was shot primarily on the Riki River and in Uganda. A third of the film was also shot in London on a soundstage. Uh, for the leads, Huston always wanted Katharine Hepburn and Humphrey Bogart. Katharine Hepburn jumped at the chance to do a film in Africa, while Humphrey Bogart was a little bit reluctant, but realized that John Huston really hadn't failed him up to that point, so why not continue the streak? Humphrey Bogart did end up regretting it. He really did not like being in Africa. Well, Katharine Hepburn absolutely loved every minute of it. And that strained their relationship. They really didn't get along from pretty much the entire production. To make matters worse, most of the production crew ended up getting dysentery and malaria, and production as a whole probably would have come to a stop without the help of one woman, Lauren Bacall, who at the time was Humphrey Bogart's wife and had come over with him to Africa, and she basically ended up cooking for the entire crew and taking care of the ill. That wasn't the only production woe the production had, though, as the boat that was the African Queen had actually sunk at one point, and they had to get the entire crew to pull it out of the water. To make matters worse, at one point their entire encampment came under attack by army ants, and they had to pack up and move camps. But they continued on. The film was released on December 26, 1951, and was a huge success, financially and critically. Financially, it made $10 million on a budget of $1 million. Critically, it did so well it was nominated for several Oscars, including Best Director, Best Screenplay, and Best Actress. The only one it ended up winning, though, was the Best Actor award done by Humphrey Bogart. The film today is considered one of the best Golden Age adventure stories and is considered by many to be the gold standard for adventure stories from then and to now even. Well, what do I think about it? Well, let's talk about the story. The story follows Rose, who's a missionary in Africa with her brother. They've been there for 10 years. The only source of mail they get in contact from the outside world comes in the form of a steamboat captain, Charlie Allnut, who shows up every so often to give the mail and news of the outside world. One day he arrives and tells them that war has happened and he probably won't be giving the mail for quite a while. As soon as he leaves, German soldiers show up and begin rounding up the entire village and starting to burn down the village as a whole. Rose's brother tries to stand up to them, but gets knocked in the head for his troubles, which seems to cause some severe brain damage as he begins to break down and eventually dying from the injury. So now Rose has to go with Charlie Allnut down the river to find a way out of the situation they're in. However, while they're going down, she comes up with this insane idea to fill a oxygen capsule with some blasting gel to go down the river and destroy a battleship that is blocking up said river. And basically the film from there is these two characters trying to get down the river, facing various threats and various blockades to their goal, and beginning to develop a relationship on a much deeper level than either expects to. This film is rather simple in concept, but I rather like that in an adventure story. I believe an adventure film that focuses on the journey is much more successful than an adventure story that's just like all blazing action or trying to be more than just your average, simple, enjoyable adventure from beginning to end. And I really like the pacing of the story as well, as we get moments of like intense adventure followed by a calm right before another intense moment. So we get the right amount of character bits while also continuing to move the story along, and I really relatively enjoyed that. The only problem the film has for me is the relationship between Rose and Charlie. These two end up falling in love in the story, and I'll be honest, the romance is kind of almost unbelievable as it rather happens quickly. And these are two characters that don't have a ton in common, so it's really hard to believe that they would just fall in love at the drop of the hat. It comes across more like they're giving into adrenaline and blind passion, and that's not what the film was trying to do, I think. I really do think it was trying to build a romance. It's just not fully realized, in my opinion, and could have done with some more moments to build up the romance before diving headfirst into it. But what we get is fine, as far as that is concerned, and the main focus of the film is the journey, and the journey is really interesting and really gripping. The characters aren't like the most interesting or well developed, but they don't really have to be for a story like this. They just have to be interesting enough that we want to follow them from point A to point B. And for the most part, they are. They're everyday people trying to do something that is basically impossible. But you still want to root for them because, again, you can relate to these characters. Unlike some adventure stories nowadays where the character is just like nigh invulnerable and basically can't be killed. These are two normal people struggling to do something that is rather impossible and might not be something that they can accomplish. And I really like that in an adventure story because you're able to understand and go with them down this journey on a different level than you would be, say, a character who's awesome, powerful, and basically invulnerable. Then we have the performances, and Humphrey Bogart and Katharine Hepburn are absolutely amazing. At this point in their career, they were both trying to do something different. Katharine Hepburn was trying to prove that even though she was a little bit older, she was still an amazing actress. And Humphrey Bogart was trying to do something different than his average tough guy character. And I think they both succeeded with this film, as Katharine Hepburn definitely proved she was still an amazing actress and could do no wrong, while Humphrey Bogart proved that he was more than just your average tough guy. And I believe that this film managed to elevate their careers to whole new levels that most of the people in Hollywood didn't expect to happen at the time. The visuals are absolutely amazing for a film from the 1950s. The Technicolor is really well done, and the benefit of shooting in Africa is quite evident as you believe they are there. There are some moments where the green screen from the London shoot does seep through, but to be honest, that probably has to do with the higher resolution from the remastered edition that I watched. And I really didn't bug me at all. I honestly think that this film is really good visually. The cinematography, the backgrounds, the moments where they're going down the rapids. I really enjoy this film visually for a film from the 1950s. The music score was done by Alan Gray, and it is brilliant. It, again, elevates this film to new heights with the right amount of energy that you need to feel in any given moment, and it's subdued when it needs to be, it's intense when it needs to be, and I really like this score here. So, at the end of the day, The African Queen is an amazing classic. It's a wonderful gold standard adventure film, and if you haven't seen it, you really need to. Now, what about my final verdict? Is this film a buy, a stream, which you can do on Hoopla or Filmbox, or is it an avoid altogether? Well, I just said it was a classic, so it's definitely not an avoid altogether. For the other two, let's talk about the special feature, which is the making of, which delves more into Sam Spiegel and his role in the film as its producer. I didn't bring up a lot of what he did because I feel like John Huston, Humphrey Bogart's, and Katharine Hepburn's story is a little bit more interesting. But if you want to know more about Sam Spiegel's role in the film, then definitely check out this special feature. The film by itself is a buy alone. The special feature just is whipped cream on top. I cannot stress that you should buy this film if you are any type of film collector. I think this film deserves its place amongst the classics of classics, and I absolutely enjoyed this film. Anyway, that's what I thought about The African Queen. What did you think about it if you've seen it? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like this video, like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you hit that bell to be notified when I post videos. And next week, we will be taking a look at Armed Response. See you then!